that they're changing my voice. Now, everyone who's assigned to watching me in, the surveillance campaign against me, psychological operation against me, they know that I'm in charge, that I'm God's son. They know that the government is just run by people who are very similar to the people who wore wigs, did the Native American genocide, enslaved black people, and all the other horrible stuff they did, because they never grew up. And their gene expression has some kind of developmental disorder that specifically prevents them from being mature and fair and so on and so forth. Okay. So that's understood. So as we look at this thing, we look at the title where it says that the Nuestra Family had some unfortunate incidences in San Jose, right? The Norteños, what have you, with the Crips. Now, keep in mind that I don't gangbang. I don't care about gang issues. But a lot of people have a lot of things confused here. I see in the comments, right? People were saying certain things, and the government was preventing me from commenting. And so what ended up happening is I ended up taking off the one comment that they allowed through, because there was 3 of them. Okay, so they prevented me from commenting, and they prevented me from editing the comment they allowed through to say if the government pays me what they owe, that I'll gladly leave America. And they've been doing things, like changing my voice, trying to make it so I sound freaking gay or weird or manic or white or Jewish, and it just, it's just the kind of typical immature stuff we see. We see a lot of that on TikTok, where we see a lot of people who look similar to each other with like a trance-like look in their eyes, and they're TikTok dancing, and I've come across thousands and thousands and thousands of these people as I've been trying to reach out to people, especially young people, to get them to do the right thing. Okay. So the government likes to play macho bullshit games, right? It reminds me of the Samuel L. Jackson movie where it says, macho is bullshit, right? If you're going to be stupid, be all the way stupid, and so on and so forth. Samuel L. Jackson and the cast in that movie, they had, and the script writer, they had a good point there when they portrayed that, when they wrote the script, when they did that presentation. Okay, macho is bullshit. And that's a lot of what's happened in the streets. Now, another thing that's happened is, in San Jose, America's divided into like racial zones, right? It's a racist country. It's an apartheid state in its own right. And even before I said that, I doubt this video is going to get out there. Now, hear me out now. If you go to some places like Baltimore, Chicago, D.C., St. Louis, Dallas, there's these sky-high murder rates, and black people are a huge part of the reason that is, okay? But when you come to San Jose, there isn't that really fear of black people that people have in those other places, right? And just because they've kind of social engineered this place to have a lot of more watered down black people. So when I came here, when my parents moved here back, it probably was the late 70s, okay? They moved to this area, moved to San Jose, that I wasn't going to get a lot of assistance, right, from the locals, right? Some Northerners are mixed with blacks, some Southerners historically were black gang members, what have you. But for a very long time, this area has been designed, bred, if you will, to not allow for certain types of black people to come here. So why didn't black gangs move to San Jose and really set up shop? And because there was deals behind the scenes with the social clubs, right? There's historically Italian social clubs, there's Irish groups, there's German groups, there's Jewish groups, there's white supremacist groups, there's Freemasons. There's a bunch of groups in this area. And I'm not, in this video particularly here to bash any of these groups here. I'm just going to tell the story, right? I'm not here to insult the Norteños or the Crips or any other group that's involved in or that I'm going to mention in this video, except for maybe the governing class and the government specifically. Though I'm not happy with anybody in the world because they're all cheating me out of my right to lead. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at this thing, I think that to a large degree, the psychological operation that is taking place here, and people are participating in it wittingly or otherwise, right? When I was younger and I used to hang out with thugs, to some degree one could argue that you might argue, oh, he was participating, but I wasn't. But in a sense, to a very small degree, one could argue I was, but that isn't the case, because I was always arguing for reason. I was always looking for true love and not the erotic desire that gang members do. I was always looking to have the proper and divine order. So we hear this rather tragic story about these different people dying on each side, right? And this person says something that's reminiscent of the Sereno green light of black people in Los Angeles County, and I don't entirely believe it, right? But maybe it's true, maybe it's not. It's not so much my concern. There's a lot of horrible things going on in the world. Even though I live right here, I'm not so concerned about it, you know what I mean? But it's rather unfortunate, and it screams psyop. And why they're running a psychological operation on me in this area, I know that it's connected to this, especially because I used to hang out with some of these groups. I used to hang out with some of the Norteños. I used to hang out with some of the Crips, various groups of people, because I don't judge people by, whether you're in a gang or not, okay? I look at the situation, I consider the sum total situation, I say, okay, what makes sense to me? What's wise? What's sound? What's going to help me find my true love, and so on and so forth. And that led me to various paths in life. Okay, so, when we look at this thing again, we see that white supremacists and Jewish supremacists and LGBT people who dominate things a lot more than you think in an underhanded and kind of beta nerd, dork dweeb sort of way, they want you to think that black people are punks because they're not going super hard in San Jose. I do not anticipate that black gangs in San Jose are going to, launch a massive response. I don't anticipate that other black gangs in other cities are going to come and say, hey, we're going to help you out, and it'll be a big old war. I don't believe that's going to happen. I could be wrong, okay, about that. But I do know that this is a psychological operation, okay? And when the smoke clears, they want the Norteños to kind of feel like they won, which goes back to kind of a proxy warfare against black people, right? So gangs, including Serenos, and any gang, Latin disciples, any gang you can think of, okay, including, Aryan Brotherhood people. And sometimes they collaborate with any gang you can think of, and sometimes they don't. Now, why? It's to reinforce a certain order. Now, a lot of people don't want me to speak on the shoes. The shoes are more key than you think in this, and it's not for the reason you think. The war with the Norteños and Serenos, okay, and the war with the Crips and Bloods, right, the red, blue, and the white, and so on and so forth, right, with the white power groups, what have you, is absolutely what you think it is. There's too many points of references that give that away, right? The Old English tattoos, right? Old English, right? I can go on and on. The brown shirts, and we talk about the Spanish Civil War. We talk about Hitler and the SA and so on and so forth, saying SA, right? We look at Emmy, and NA, right? EN, N, the N, right? N and MA together equals enemy. Who's enemy? Right? It's the enemy of God and the enemy of people themselves. But who, right? Everybody, the Crips and Bloods are enemy of God too. Okay. It's there in the wordplay because the devil loves to brag how in the occult wordplay. Okay. Now, a lot of people don't want me to get into this. Let's just touch on it quickly. The word shoe, SHOE, is hose scrambled, HOES, which goes back to kind of the core of Western culture, right? Zeus, who rapes many people, changes forms, and Eros, where you get rose, right? Rose, like Rose Cross, Rosicrucian, Rose Cross, Freemason, okay? And Eros is where we get the word erotic desire. Okay. Now, right now, there's a couple rollers. I don't know what they want. They could be out to roll up on me. Sometimes they do that. It's hard to say what they're going to do. Okay, they turn. Okay. So, and again, I don't do anything wrong these days, but they like to kind of put pressure on me and say, like, you better not talk about that. You know how that goes, right? This is, that America's been doing that, and countries have been doing that forever and ever. Anyway, so, so I kind of calm down, get prepared, and say, okay, let me change my state of mind. So anyway, back to this. So the word shoe and hose. The shoe also has significance in terms of the ground, right? So it's like crip walking, blood walking, right? Sky walking. Right? Sun skywalking, if you will, right? Horus, the Skywalker. Okay? The movie, the Star Wars Skywalker, believe it or not, this stuff's connected. A lot of people say, oh, it's connected because it's the formula, alphabet, gangs, right? Military, police, they all try to propound that they're alphas, but they're not. Even those guys in Baltimore killing people, like 500, 600 people, dying a year, getting murdered a year in Baltimore, Chicago, they're not alphas. They're just guys with guns. Okay? So when we look at these stories, you've got to realize that, you're poisoning your blood. No one should be reproducing no matter what, okay? And I'll say it to every race the same way, okay? If you think that I'm just aiming at minorities, go teach it to just white people to even it out, because it needs to be said. Nobody should be reproducing no matter what, okay? People should not reproduce. That's what I'm trying to say. No double negative bullshit. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So we see the shoes, right? And they talk about Nike. Now, who's Nike? If you think this is not connected, you're crazy. Who's Nike? It's a pagan deity, right? It's a victory. Nike, the deity of victory, and all this rape cult rubbish that comes from being a part of the family of Zeus, which goes back to Pan, whose name means all, for all the Greco-Roman deities working together to rape people. Pan plays the flute. He rapes Psyche, and Psyche is Eros' consort, right? It's because of erotic desire. Eros is where we get the word erotic desire. You have Aphrodite and Hermaphroditus, which is where we get the word hermaphrodite, which goes back to the gender-neutral bathroom and all this gender-neutral stuff we see, the gender-neutral bathrooms, kids getting sex changes, what have you. So when we look at the situation, right, Latin America, right, Latino, right, Latin as the language of Rome, the language of quote-unquote scholars. And all that word plays a story for another day now. You know, they kind of put me through the ringer today with the fumes and, you know, even the word fume, F-U-M-E, right? Poison, right? The word position is poison is scramble. Okay, and poise, you know, your stance, right? Martial arts stances. This stuff is more key than you think. A lot more people in prison, a lot of people don't think of this way. A lot more people than you think do martial arts in prison, and they do it in a certain way that goes back to Set, who's a deity of brute force. That's why gangs have sets. And the word set, S-E-T, backwards is T's, right? So if you make, it's about who controls areas, right? If you make it about that, and you say, you know, oh, you know, you control that money there, you control the pussy, right? The money and the pussy. Okay, now why is it called a pussy? The pussy cat, which goes back to the leopard and the panther, and Dionysus, who's a young Zeus riding the panther, the leopard, what have you. And that's a story for another day, right? There's Bess, and there's all kinds of connections there. Okay, but what you see going on here is that they're teasing you, and they're doing it in various ways that hits your subconscious. Whether you believe in supraliminal or subliminal messages, okay, you must believe that you absorb things from your environment, because you come from a long line of people walking down through the jungle or the forest or on a boat, and they're you know, picking up on things, and there's reflexes. Your brain is absorbing things like a sponge. So they're teasing you to varying degrees, and it causes you to lash out. And we see in nature, right, with the turkey, and it kind of swells up and it rubs its wings on the ground. We see with the rooster, okay, this is more key than you think. Okay, we see animals sparring over women, right? They're hitting each other in the head, you know, like a moose, right? You know, and whatever other animals do it, you know. And this is key here, okay? Because their system is based on animism. That's why the word animus, where we get the word animation, animus, okay, means spirit or soul, okay? Animaniacs, right? All the Looney Tunes are crazy. Cartoon, car in your car, tune. It's all connected, and it's connected in various ways. That's why it's also Babylon's system, because they want you to say, well, he's babbling on incoherently, but it's not. Just like there's a formula in the codes, right? Street codes, prison codes, gang codes, prison gang codes. There's a formula in the events that take place, okay? And they want you to not give credit where it's due, okay? You know, there's a lot of Norteños, or, you know, with a street scale, they'd be considered tough, so on and so forth. A lot of Crips that flowed through here and there. I've heard stories, okay? But that's neither here nor there. What matters is character. Like martial arts, for example, is about character. It's about the divine order, a willingness to respect and accept those greater than you. Is one Korean Taekwondo instructor, you know, his system is considered a master, okay, named Master Hee El Cho. He said you have to have a willingness to accept and respect those who are better than you are. Now, why? Because it has an effect on your mind, body, soul, and spirit, and your ability to learn, your ability to have a worthwhile life. Martial is marital scramble. Christ is the bridegroom, and I'm Christ. But they don't want you to hear that, because they worship the devil, Set and Anu, right? An, also called An, okay? Set and Satan, okay? They worship the fucking devil, whose name means adversary, adversary, E-R-I-S, in the Greco-Roman system, is a deity of chaos and discord, who would accompany Mars, where we get the word martial arts, but it doesn't come from Europe. That's just how they term it. You know, that's their language, right? Latin root, okay? You know, it accompanies Mars into battle with other deities, which shows you their formula for battle, like the rape of the Sabines. When they killed these guys, took their women, and then, you know, raped them, and then their women, out of stupidity, in a psychological state of being pacified, which is another deity, pacify, made a deal with their other family members, and they ended up marrying their rapist, which is a very key formula. Play the game, right? Play. You got to understand this. Now pause it, hear it again, take notes. They're fuming, making it harder for me to say it in a way that's logical. Made it very hard for me to write it down and present it that way. Okay, they're going the distance. They think it's fun. They're like teasing me and mocking me. Mockers, mock ritual.